HARK, we are here. It is time for the second, I guess technically, of the Shadows of the Galaxy quote-unquote set review videos we had. Last we had was the leaders. We did top 5 there. No tier listing because we don't tier list here at RybackStun. Today's video is going to focus on aggression in Shadows of the Galaxy. We're not going to do the same thing we did last time where it's like top 3 for each combination and then the cards you're probably just going to end up ignoring. I picked a smattering of cards across the aggression aspect for Shadows of the Galaxy. I'll talk a little bit about each of them, why I think they're good or they have potential, and what decks they can serve going forward with Shadows of the Galaxy releasing very, very soon. So without any further ado, let's get into this first card. Our first card, Deathwatch Hideout. Why Deathwatch Hideout, you ask? Well, honestly, because it's cool. It's cool. Deathwatch Hideout, you've got the Gauntlet Starfighters, it's on Concordia. I'm a big Mandalorian fan. That's all there really needs to be said about it. Next up, we have Dengar the Demolisher. 1 cost, 2 power, 2 health, Underworld Bounty Hunter. When you play an upgrade on a unit, you may deal 1 damage to that unit. Dengar is the focus of the bounty slash upgrades matter strategy, specifically with Bosk, because a 1-2 punch of playing an upgrade, Dengar's ability activating, and then using Bosk on the target can knock out anything that has 2 health or less. You claim the bounty and you do all kinds of cool things as a result of that. Dengar is the little ping damage character that we're going to see a lot of. Anytime you play an upgrade in aggression villainy, you're going to get that damage, and it can be on anything so long as it is something that is able to take the damage. You could ping a shield off of something, which can also be very helpful, and then just keep moving on towards hitting that bounty target. I think Dengar, as an uncommon especially, is going to see a lot of play in aggression decks because of that bounty matters style. Next, we have Deathwatch Loyalist, 3 cost, 3/3 grit overwhelm. Super easy to throw into decks. As a Mandalorian, it goes into the Gar Saxon deck, any of the other Mandalorian decks that is running villainy. Great for Grand Inquisitor, great for anything that you can put a little bit of damage on this, maybe throw an extra upgrade onto, and then overwhelm onto your opponent's units with that grit. Lots of really cool things that can come out with Deathwatch Loyalist. This is probably the premier card that is going to be played in Grand Inquisitor from this set, and I think that's really cool for something that's going to be able to take some damage, grit, and overwhelm, and be a pseudo removal tool for that deck. Next, we have Heroic Renegade, the perfect card here for Han Solo. 2 cost, 2 power, 3 health, grit. This ends up becoming a 4/1 if you deploy it with Han Solo's effect from this set, and that means that you're going to be able to deal some extra damage to your opponent so long as they don't defeat it right off the bat. Don't play this against ping leaders, because if you do, it's just going to die, and then there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Next, we have Desperado Freighter. Not necessarily the top end for Han, but one of the absolute best cards you're going to be able to play in Han Solo. It's also just a good generic aggression style fighter for heroism, given that it's a 5 cost, 5/6. With Han Solo, it's a 4 cost, 5/4, and then you can end up doing some extra cool stuff with it in the gameplay of being able to take down your opponent's ships or just start slamming into your opponent's base and hoping that you can do that enough times to be able to beat them. Poe Dameron, super obvious card, super very good, a legendary, a 5 cost, 6/6 resistance traded unit. On attack, discard up to 3 cards from your hand. For each card discarded this way, choose a different option. Deal 2 damage to a unit or a base. Defeat an upgrade. An opponent discards a card from their hand. If all you do is discard 1 card from your hand to play Poe, you can just deal damage to your opponent's units or base, 2 damage to one of those things, or defeat an upgrade that your opponent has that's troublesome for you, and then you have a 6/6 that's able to do things on the board later on, should it survive whatever it attacks into. Most likely you're going to attack into your opponent's base, but this puts pressure onto your opponent. Also very playable in Han Solo, but playable in any aggression heroism deck, and might end up replacing things like Guerrilla Attack Pod, which is already not really played as much. But if you're playing command with aggression and you do have the energy conversion lab, you can throw this in and do a whole bunch of cool shenanigans. Just make sure you're backing this up with something like Black 1 or other cards that allow you to draw cards, because you're going to run out of cards quickly. Next, we have Reckless Gunslinger, the king aggro card. When played, deal 1 damage to each base. It's a 1 cost 2/1, but it's also a 3 smuggle 2/1 that's still going to be able to deal damage to each base. It's Sabine, but on a unit instead of a leader ability. Can be played from the resource pile for 3. 3 cost 1 damage isn't a lot to write home about, but if your opponent's not expecting it to happen, it's the best way that you can use to win games if your opponent's not calculating the damage thresholds properly, and that's why Reckless Gunslinger is here. Clan Challengers, another really good Grand Inquisitor card because it does have that raid 3, so you can do the initial damage with it to be able to get that extra damage into a 5 cost 3/6 isn't a whole lot, but a 5 cost 6/6 on attack is kind of nuts. And if you upgrade it with any of your Mandalorian strategies like Garsax and Bo-Katan or the Mandalorian, you get the Overwhelm, which means, again, this is another piece of removal that's also going to be able to attack and deal damage to your opponent's base with that Overwhelm. We get the big boy himself, the Crate Dragon, 9 cost aggression, 10/10 creature with Overwhelm. This thing's going to be hitting. It's going to be hitting hard. And when your opponent plays a card, you can deal damage equal to that card's cost to their base or a ground unit they control. So if your opponent tries immediately to deal with this with a removal tool, you can say, cool, your base is going to take X amount of damage based upon the cost of that card. But if your opponent can't do that, can't remove it immediately, and they still have to play cards, you can continue to use Crate Dragon's effect to smash your opponent's base or their units with the cards that they're going to be playing. And the higher cost cards that they're playing to try to deal with this or win the game, the more damage Crate Dragon is doing into defeating your opponent by dealing damage to their base or clearing the ground unit so that the Crate Dragon can continue to smash your opponent's base for 10 damage each time. Hotshot DL44 Blaster is really here for the smuggle component of it. A 1 cost +2/+0 upgrade isn't too much to write home about, but if you're playing Cunning and this is in your resource row, it's effectively a surprise strike for 1 less power and 1 more cost, but it's a permanent upgrade that stays on your unit, so you can continue to use that attack bonus each round thereafter or any other time you could attack with it. So a quick 3 cost +2 power can definitely help you clear out a unit your opponent wasn't expecting to be able to clear it out, or continue pressuring your opponent's base with those attacks, because it's not ambush, it is attack with attached unit, so you could do anything that an attack would allow you to do. And our last card, one of the more impactful cards that you're going to see in set 2, Daring Raid, 1 cost, 2 damage to a unit or a base. It's Shock in Star Wars Unlimited. Pay your 1, deal the damage to your opponent's base, stack up the extra things that aggression can do, like the damage with Crate Dragon's effect, the Overwhelm with Clan Challengers, the extra damage from Poe Dameron, the extra grit damage from Heroic Renegade, the damage that comes out of Reckless Gunslinger, the damage that comes out of that Rokai little gunship for 2, adding that onto Daring Raid. Aggression has so many sources of just putting pressure on your opponent to deal damage, deal damage, deal damage, deal damage. And on any round that you use Han Solo's effect to be able to put a unit into play a little bit early with that 1 resource, you can use that extra resource to play Daring Raid to clear a unit off the board or just put that pressure to your opponent's base. Aggression is all about dealing damage, and that's what these cards do. And that's gonna be it for aggression. Lots of really cool cards here, lots of cards that are gonna do extra things with aggression to be able to push that damage through, whether it's through units attacking your opponent's units with Overwhelm, whether it's your units with Grit being able to push more damage into your opponent's base, whether it's trigger effects that deal extra damage to your opponent's base through things like Crate Dragon or Poe Dameron, or just playing events that deal damage to your opponent's base with Daring Raid. Aggression is going to be massively aggressive, more so this set than it was last set, because there's so many more tools available to aggression to be able to do those. So watch out for aggression mainstay leaders like Bosk, like Grand Inquisitor, like Sabine, like Han, like Bo-Katan, because they are going to be some of the bigger threats you're going to be seeing in at least the mid-range of the game until people start figuring out, okay, what are the best combinations of things to do here. Set 2 does have a lot of non-obvious power. Set 1 had a little bit of that as well, but more obvious power in set 1 compared to set 2. And then we just have the multitude of options that are available to us by effectively doubling the card pool from what we had in set 1, not even including the reprints, and being able to allow us to have a ton of options available for deck building. And aggression just goes up even further than here. All the aspects do go up because all the aspects got really cool abilities and cards, but I think aggression might benefit the most simply because it does more things that aggression wants to do without having to pair into other aspects too much to be able to accomplish the goal of just punching your opponent in the face. And by punching them in the face, I mean dealing a bunch of damage to their base. So there you have it. Those are my top choices for aggression in Shadows of the Galaxy. Hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did showcasing it to you. Remember to like and comment on the video, subscribe to this channel. Let me know what your hypest aggression card or what you think is going to be the top aggression card coming out of Shadows of the Galaxy and how it interacts with your favorite leader. And with that, we'll see you in the next video. And that's all we got. So I'll see you in the stars.